Hi, I'm Tay. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. And today I'm going to be going through the items that I would purchase and would not purchase again if I was getting pregnant again for the first time and had to buy all of the baby things. I have a 14-month-old, and so I have had some time to see how I use the items that I bought, and there are some items that I wish I would have gotten. However, at this point, I wouldn't be using it for very much longer, and so I am going without. So we're going to talk about that too. So let's get into it. So the very first thing that I'm going to be talking about is something that I'm a little bit 50-50 on. That would be a high chair versus the booster seat that I got. So what I actually have is I have this booster seat right here. And I really do enjoy this booster seat. It works really well. It's easy to use. It did grow with my daughter. When she was a baby, you could lay it flat, and then the older she's gotten, we have been able to lift it. However, it basically has turned into a sort of high chair item. We have a specific chair that we keep it strapped to at all times. It stays in the same spot, and we really use it like a high chair. Now, when I originally bought this item, I bought it with the intention that we would be folding it up. I loved that it was portable. We'd be taking it to my parents or my sisters or even to restaurants or anything, and that really just didn't happen. Part of that is because my parents have one of their own, my in-laws have one of their own. I guess I did send it to my sister's house one time, but I don't know that they actually used it. And we've never taken it to a restaurant ever. We always have just put her up to the table. And so because we never used it in that way, I am 50-50. I think that if you want a high chair, just go with a high chair. I do think that this booster seat has been easier now that she's a toddler to transition her to just sitting at the table, because she does just sit at the table with us now. We have not used the tray part for a really long time. And so, like I said, I'm 50-50. Those are just the observations that I've had with the choice that I made. And I do think that if I was going to get to a point where I needed a booster seat instead of the high chair, I would prefer to just buy just the booster seat as opposed to buying a high chair and then needing a booster seat later. But since I didn't get a high chair, I didn't really look into how long they can be in a high chair before you don't need it anymore. So I'm not sure if you can just transition from a high chair to sitting at the table. I mean, you can. I'm just not sure if you should. So that's a choice that you can make on your own. Like I said, I'm 50-50. The next items that I'm going to be talking about are the items that I wish that I would have bought that I didn't, and it's a little too late at this point. The first one is that I would buy a gather mat. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be this brand. I just really have heard great things about this brand. I like the fact that they're super wipeable, but really you just need some type of foldable changing mat. And that is because from 5 or 6 months on, we have been changing my daughter on the floor every single time we change her diaper. We don't use the changing pad. What we used for a really long time is we had a pack and play with a little bassinet and changing pad on the top, and we used that to change her for a really long time. But she kind of outgrew that, and then ever since then we've been changing her on the floor. We have a 2-story house, and so I don't take her upstairs to the nursery every time we have to change her diaper. And so I do wish that I would have gotten some sort of mat, because there have been times when I have had to get out the carpet cleaner on the carpet when I've been changing the diaper. We've had a mishap and gotten something on the floor, and it would just be so much easier if I had something to lay under her. We do have one in the diaper bag. However, I don't swap it in and out because I would rather always have in the diaper bag, and I know myself, I would forget it at home, and then when we're out, I would really wish we had it. Another thing that we can use is we can just put down a burp cloth or a towel or something like that, and so you don't actually need the gather mat. The gather mat's just nice because it's super wipeable, but we've used a towel or whatever we have nearby if it's a concern, and it's worked just fine for us. Is with the rocking chair that I got. I did get 2, one for the nursery, one for the living room. I got 2 because at the time I did need living room furniture, and so I just bought the same thing because my ultimate intention is that once I don't need it chair in the nursery anymore. I am going to bring the second chair into the living room, and I wanted them to match. However, that said, as much as I do like the rocker that we got, and it does exactly what it says it does, I do wish that I would have gotten a rocker that reclines. And the reason that I wish that is because there are so many times when Aurora was a newborn that she would fall asleep on me in the chair, and I would be so tired, but I knew I couldn't get up, because if I got up, she would wake up. And so it would have been so nice to have been able to just stay in the chair and recline and get some sleep at the same time. And with the chair that we got, it just wasn't super comfortable. I mean, I took plenty of naps in this chair, but a recliner would have been, it would have been so much better than what we did. So the next items that I'm going to be talking about are actually items that I wouldn't buy again and that I did not enjoy, or that I just didn't use that much. And the first item that's in this category is actually the changing pad that I bought for the nursery. I bought just the standard changing pad, and it works fine. However, I only changed her in the nursery at the very beginning when she was needing her diaper changed in the middle of the night. Like I said, I have a 2-story house, and I don't take her upstairs to change her during the day. So from the time that she stopped needing her diaper changed in the middle of the night, I've never used that changing pad. So obviously this will be different if you have a 1-story house, or you do have the intention of taking your baby into the nursery every single time that you're going to change their diaper. Because honestly, I had that intention that I was going to be taking her upstairs to change her diaper, change her clothes. And I did do that for a while. Really, I did that consistently until I went back to work after maternity leave. And while I was on maternity leave, I took her upstairs. We had this, nice flow going. But as soon as I went back to work, the whole schedule just kind of went out the window, and she's been changed in the living room ever since. And so I really honestly would not have bought the changing pad. Like I said, I would have just got like the gather mat, and then you can put that in the nursery, and then you can move it at a later date if you start changing your baby somewhere else. The second thing that I would not have done is I would not have bought so many baby bottles. And I bought 3 different brands because I wanted to have options, but I bought like starter kits of all 3 brands. And some of them I did receive as gifts, and so I didn't actually buy them all myself, but they were on my registry, so I would have ended up buying them myself. What I would do instead is I would buy 1 bottle of 2 or 3 brands to start with. And the reason that I say this is because either you're going to have a favorite, or your baby's going to have a favorite, or you're going to have a baby like me who has never wanted to take a bottle her entire life. And so obviously not everybody has that option for your baby to not have a bottle. But once we tried all 3 brands and she didn't really like any of the 3, we just kind of scrapped it, and we never really used a bottle ever again. We went straight from her exclusively breastfeeding to her using a sippy cup, and just kind of skipped the bottles. And so I have a lot of money wrapped up in bottles that we never used. The next item that I would not purchase is so many pacifiers, and that is for the same reason. I bought like 2 or 3 brands of pacifiers, and I did use pacifiers for the first 2 or 3 months. It did help her sleep for like a month and a half, where it would help her calm down, and I could get her to go to sleep that way. But from the time that she was 3 months and up, she's never taken a pacifier again. And so I really could have gotten away with having 2 or 3 pacifiers. She's never taken a pacifier outside of the house when it hasn't been bedtime. And so again, I have a lot of money wrapped up in pacifiers that we never used. So I would buy 1, maybe 2, and see if your baby actually takes a pacifier before you put a lot of money into them. The next item that I would not buy is, I was not prepared for how extremely hard it is to get shoes on your baby. And especially before they're walking all the time, they basically like their leg just kind of goes straight into their foot. They really, it's like the epitome of cankles. And so to actually, have a structured shoe is just not, it's not good. Just stay away from structured shoes until your child is walking and they actually form an actual ankle, or they're able to help you slip their foot into a shoe or help you push. And I have so many, like I have these itty bitty, like they're the cutest cowboy boots you've ever seen in your entire life. And they would have fit her at about 8 months probably. And I couldn't get her foot into them. I could not get her foot around the bend. Same with, I bought like a little pair of Ugg boots and just a couple other pairs of shoes that I just was never able to get her foot into. And so I just highly recommend getting either shoes that are completely bendable and that are just more like a cloth shoe, or to get a type of shoe that has like an elastic band that you're able to just pull it around their foot and it doesn't actually go up their leg. So like a little pair of moccasins or something. And I would just highly recommend staying away from a structured shoe. The next item that I would try really hard, and this is going to be difficult, okay, because I know they're really, really cute. But don't buy a whole bunch of the super cute little itty bitty newborn socks, okay? Just don't waste your money. One, it's not very long until your baby figures out they can pull them off. Two, they don't always even have to pull them off. They just somehow fall off of the ankleless foot that is your baby. Three, the washer eats them. And so, yeah, they just disappear. And really the only thing that they are useful for is to buy them instead of like the baby mittens that go on their hands if they're trying to scratch their face. Socks work 10 times better than those baby mittens. So if you're going to use them for that, be my guest. But they will not stay on your baby's foot. They just won't. So instead, I would recommend that you either buy socks like these that are like knee-high socks or thigh-high socks, or I would buy socks like these. And they are just taller socks. They go to like mid-calf on my daughter, and they do have smaller sizes. So I did not get these in the smaller sizes, so I can't attest to how small the like newborn very tiny size is. But they're so much better. They stay on so well. And I just highly recommend those or the knee-high socks that I was talking about before. The next item that I would not buy again are any scented baby body washes or shampoos. And this may not be the case for all babies, but my daughter had very, very sensitive skin when she was a newborn, to the point where my husband and I had to be really careful what we wore. My husband completely stopped wearing any kind of like cologne or body spray, and I actually showered with baby body wash that I was using for her. I used that for months and months and months as well because it did not irritate her like some of the other products that I had used. And it was to the point where like she would nap on somebody who had perfume on, and her entire face would break out. And so I would just highly recommend getting unscented baby products. And what really worked for us is anything that was CeraVe or anything that was Cetaphil. And the very last item that I would completely steer clear of is again something that I was so excited about, and that is knotted gowns. And there may be knotted gowns out there that are great, but if I were you, I would try to find knotted gowns that are like extra long, because the problem that we had with knotted gowns is for how long my daughter was, she was very small. So anything that fit her around, as soon as I put the knot in it, she couldn't straighten her legs. And so she always either had her legs all bunched up or her feet would poke out of the bottom of the gown. And as cute as they were, it just wasn't, it's not going to be comfortable for your baby. Just a recommendation. I agree, they're the cutest things ever. We put her in it for a photo shoot at Christmas, so I'm not saying that I didn't use the ones that I got. However, it was not a comfortable, like, lounging around the house. It's also not good if you're planning on leaving the house because you have to untie it in the car seat and then it gets all bunched up around them. And so, like, I didn't like gowns near as much as I was expecting to. And so I would just steer clear. I did, however, like the gowns that were just kind of bunchy at the bottom. Again, not for days that we had to leave the house, but on days that we were just hanging out around the house, they were really nice. I put a gown that had the bungee at the bottom, and then I would put the tall socks on her because it was a little bit colder at this point in time, and that worked really well for us. So I hope that this was helpful, and if you have any questions about an item that you're on the fence about, just leave that below in the comments. If you're interested in knowing more about products that I did and didn't like, then you can watch some of these videos over here. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.